the computer. Okay, so the time now is 8:34 in Greece, so that will be 7:34 in New Zealand PM, and it's the Confederation of United Tribes of New Zealand World Flag Jurisdiction of the Native King's Bench Magistrates Court area. So over to you then, John.
Okay, thank you, Andy. I just want to address everybody that's on tonight. Thank you for coming in, and anybody around the world, because this will be the biggest fraud case in the world of a Native King's Bench court here set up in Awaroa, Helensville, over a period of years, and since 1985, just before the 1986 Constitution came out. That's why the Confederation of Chiefs was put together with the flag as a Confederation British flag and not a Whakaputanga flag that's up in Waitangi. So one's got corporation in it, that's this one, that converts land into cash, and it goes to the British Crown through the smaller New Zealand Crown here, two separate crowns. So we're talking about the big crown in Britain. That's our entity, our legal inheritance for everybody that acts as natives born on the land. So there's Murray, that's to do with that contract with Queen Elizabeth and Wellington government talking to each other. That's a mortgage side. And the side we're on with the native Britain, that's a lien mortgage maker. So that's a creditor. The other side is a debtor. So that just clears up a bit of history of what I've been doing with the Freemasons and Mohi Manukau. So it's all in his name and it's all in his court. It's all on his land with his name on it in 20 Commercial Road in Helensville. So that's where we base our authority in this native court tonight. Gregory can have his say afterwards. For Ngāpuhi, they don't have a court to Britain. They've got no sovereignty. They've got their own sovereignty and haven't ceded sovereignty to the Crown. So it's got no business up north. It's all in Awaroa Native Magistrate Court and Punga Native Magistrate Court in Arapuni or Maungatautari Mountain, where the Memorial Rock is. So I put all that history together. Two native British courts with the flag. The flag is in both places. King William IV is flying the Confederation Constitution flag, municipal corporation flag to pick up the rent on the land in Awaroa Bank or Awaroa Native Magistrate Court Bank in Helensville. So that took a few years to nut all that out and put the whakapapa together with the Wānoa, the Rogan and the Manukau on the whakapapa I've got is joining all the tribes together with Ngāpuhi, the main tribe that's supposed to be leading with the whakamininga, but it never got off the ground because Mohi Manukau never allowed it to happen up in Ngāpuhi. He just got me up to talk about it, and it didn't get through to anybody. But we're at the moment now where that side has to marry in with the native side. So you have to identify your surname first. Mine, it comes from Raiatea Island, Taputapu Raiatea Marae, the Moai on East Island. That's my family, the Wānoa Royal Tahitian family. So my line of descent comes from there, and the L-O-R-E, law. The Wānoa is Wā, beginning of time, and space, and law. Wānoa, law, in the middle of the marae. So there, it's got significance to my own name, where I came from, to this country, but Mohi Manukau was already here. The Morioris got wiped out by the British immigrants, and Ngāpuhi wiped them all up except 2 or 3 left over. So they come from Chatham Islands. So when the British came, they went to Cook Islands first, then Chatham Islands, then here. So they took the title from Chatham Islands because this was their playground feeding basket for the Moriori and the Manukau. The names over there, Waitangi, Manukau, and all the other names came from here, there to here. So that gives you a bit of background of the Manukau name. The British Crown agents went straight for the Manukau name, for the LAW, to get their name on their documents for the title transfer. And they went straight for the Wānoa family at the East Coast for the birth certificates, 1831. That's where it was put together in St. Mary's Church in Tikitiki and Rangitukia, where the primary school was. That's where the court was. And on my land box, it's on my website, you can see. So the two are married together with the Rogan judges. So the Rogans screwed the Manukau's off their land and screwed the Wānoas off their land down the East Coast and took everything for their crown under the British crown. And we got nothing out of it. I can't even get on my own land. So it's been difficult all these years. And I said, one day we'll have our own native magistrate court. It's the same as what happened in Helensville, where they built Auckland City from Helensville, cut the blocks into 10-acre blocks out of the big blocks. That's where all the titles in New Zealand came from there. And so Rogans and Manukau was instrumental with marrying into the Manukau family, the Rogan judges, and Dick Rogan married Ōrāti Wānoa at the East Coast. So they had the courts in both places, and that's how the titles go together in this court. And nothing can change it. Only the British have the records over there in Edinburgh. That's the Te Waikato Wharehere Manukau in Arapuni, Cambridge to Cambridge, England. That's that one in King George IV. And then you've got Queen Victoria with Rewharewha Manukau in the Auckland area and also in Kaipara. So he covers that with the 1862 Native Land Act of Rewharewha Manukau. That forms the Native Land Court in New Zealand, where the Maori Land Court titles came out of that name, Manukau. So our problem was the government and LINZ and the landowners, the first landowners of Cook Street, wouldn't put the name Manukau on their titles. I tried so hard and went through the way 1-1 to try and get it on the title, and Ngāti Whātua kicked it off, and they went with Kāwharu, Hu Kāwharu, but he's not a real Kāwharu, but the Crown of New Zealand went for that whakapapa instead of the Manukau whakapapa. So now I've got a court that I'm pushing through, so we have to go through the High Court. It's going to cost thousands, but I've got somebody that can do it, and he believes in what I do is correct. Everything I do is correct, but no one can do it. It's a contract. You can't tamper with a contract or alter it, otherwise you'll get in trouble with contract law. If you know contract law, mortgages, liens, and also Freemasons certificates of title and memorials to go with it. You have to know all of that before you can operate in this court. That's what I'm saying. Be very careful how you put yourself and your surname on this court, because if you get it wrong, you get a pound note on your head and you can't get it off. Everybody's face in here can't touch it because someone's saying don't touch. So just a warning, don't use any of the documents that have got seals of the Protestant kings on it. And that's King William III is a Dutch Protestant, but his descendants, King George III, the father of King George IV, King William IV, and King Ernest Augustus I, they're German, but they still follow the Protestant Dutch instruments and all the documents that we follow too. And Parliament, Westminster, can't do it without it. They can't put another monarch with admiralty in its place. That's why they keep Protestant, even though it's all run by Germans. So there, the Germans have screwed the whole system with Rothschild, and that's who we're going after with the pound note to liquidate the whole lot of them when we get on one piece of land on Cook Street. See, we're waiting for those landowners to come in and show their face and say something. They just won't do it. They rather just make a complaint. And that's all they went on the last time we got arrested, put in jail for nothing, and got off. They couldn't find anything to pin to me. That's me. And the other marshals. So Gregory was the same again, going to do the same job, but he did a very good job. I must commend him for that, but never got the key for me because that was going to convert to cash. But now I have to get it myself because I started it. I'll finish it off because no one else can do it. You have to be standing on your own 2 feet, your own competent witness, know everything, every single thing, not one bit missing. You have to know it all. The real estate, the banking, the mortgage broking, the whakapapa, whatever, but that doesn't come into commercial contracts. The whakapapa I'm talking about is the kings and the native chiefs, the ones the British pick, not the ones the New Zealand government pick, which is back to front. All the whakapapa is back to front. It doesn't work properly because that's why they're fighting Tainui and Ngāpuhi are fighting over titles and things because that's their problem. That's not our problem. We don't have problems with land. We've the head lease. We hold the head lease in the native court, this one in Awaroa, and no other court. And the other lease in Wellington is a sublease. It's underneath the big lease. So you got 2 leases, and then you got international law on top of that. You got to do all those people living on the land have their own laws from their own countries. You have to get around that too. But the British title won't go away. It'll always be there. You own the land, the dirt land, but not the lease. That's what the government said to Ngāpuhi on the 6th of February, and said it publicly that Ngāpuhi said they didn't cede sovereignty. So that cuts them right out of the trust, right out of the wealth, right out of the crown entities, everything they stole out of here, everything is stole out of every other native country. So it's right out of the picture. They have no say in this native court to talk outside of an interest of the native, of the land, the ones that are on the documents. You have to have names on documents to your surname while you're standing as your own competent witness. Don't borrow somebody else's name because it doesn't work like that in British titles. They just pick whoever they think was there first. So the Moriori was here first as far as the British are concerned because they found out from Chatham Islands they were already there in Chatham Islands and they only come over here to have a feed, pick some things and go back. So that's, I know all that back to front. And the names of the country was already Raki, Aoraki, and that. Those names were still there. I'm just giving you an overview before I read what I've written here and send to my executive to tell them where I stand, where Gregory stands, but no one talks over me when I'm running this business because it's huge. It's not for faint-hearted. If you say something wrong in front of the British system and you can't stick yourself to the land and memorials, especially memorials, you can't have a carving because that don't work in commercial contracts. It has to be stone. So the moai is there as our Queen Victoria corporatized the moai in London. The first one she pinched. The Dutchmen didn't touch them because they knew they were sacred. But the Queen wanted it for her memorial documents to take the whole world over. So that's what that meant. So wherever the moai is, that's our title, our living native-born people here in New Zealand and all the natives around the world. So we get this country going with shares, and then all the other countries, 250 countries, I set them all up to buy the shares here, £25 a share. and get one free, then that means it costs you nothing for a share. It's going to be automatic. So that's the economy. That's the whole economy behind a government. We're already a dual government with the flag, the Confederation flag in Awaroa to Britain, not the Whakaputanga. It doesn't have a co-government with Britain, only the flag flying in Helensville, that can stay through the Rogan agents and all the lawyers, accountants, judges. They call them gentry, mechanics, shopkeepers, bankers. All those people join the Freemasons to build Auckland, and that's how that happened. So that's why we're going into Auckland with that title from there to whip the whole lot back into the native title with Manukau's name on it. You see? So that's just for the document, nothing else. No whakapapa. His family don't know how big it was, but the Rogans knew what they wanted. They wanted a strong bloodline in the Manukau for the land title, and so that's why they picked him out of everybody, and because he had his name already on Chatham Islands and here too, just Manukau all over the place, Manukau Harbour and Waikato, Waikato, Wharahere and Manukau. So it's been twisted into a woman and the chief, and nobody can say where the Waikato River name come from and have a place where it's special that's connected to Britain. They don't want to know about Britain because Britain's got the truth. The L-O-R-E, Moai, it's the truth is that way, not over here. You won't find any truth here in this government. It's all fraud. One fraud of Queen Victoria when she switched the king out, King Ernest Augustus I. That was the first fraud. He's supposed to be the brother next to William. He should have been on the throne, but they legislated him out and put Victoria in. They made a cock and bull story up and put her in, and that's where it went wrong. It all went fraud from that moment on in that time. So there, I can say all of that, and somebody has to refute what I'm saying. I doubt if anybody got any answers for that because it's all in the history. But we want to forget about all that when we get one land and the rest will fall over like dominoes. So really want to make sure people know where I fit in as the Royal Tahitian Wanoa family with the Moai. That's our family's heirloom and it's stolen. I treat that as another fraud of stealing memorials. Like I go and steal Winston Churchill's memorial and take it back to my place in East Island. And what they're going to do, they'll kick up a stink, but we haven't kicked up a stink because it's really got a symbol of wealth and success. That's what Moai is in their world, why they pick him up and put him there. So Queen Elizabeth put a Moai in Dunedin, the museum there, with the crown on his head for the whole title to New Zealand. So he's there. And they put another Moai, just real ones from East Island, and put one, chopped his head off and put him in the Auckland Museum as the title to Auckland. So that's me over there. I tried to tell the crown that that's me over there with my DNA there and the DNA in Dunedin. That's where Desmond One, or my cousin, was living on with the families down there because they know where that they come from. They knew where the East Coast was connected to the South Island, Brenham, and all those places, and right through with the Moai. So that's us for the document's sake to transfer the land out of the native into the crown in Britain through the little crown here in Wellington. They have to pay for the rights of using the big crown and pay the principal there and the interest to the bank, the World Bank, which is ours anyway. So that's the Awaroa Bank has gone to the BNZ, it's gone to the League of Nations, it's gone to the United Nations, it's gone to the World Bank. That's us. And Putin is running it. Putin is in charge of the World Bank. So I can talk to him. Once I get on Cook Street, I'll kick all those things into life. And because the British have got no protection of the military on our flag, the black strip on the flag is the military to protect us. It's to protect us and our trade between New Zealand and Britain. So that's what that is. But when the Queen got it and the Rothschilds, they made it get other way around, that it was for their trade between here and Britain and the world, where Queen Victoria put the flag in our trust business, Queen Victoria Trust 1844, put it in the United Nations, and it spread from there. That's still our business all the way to the world. So I just said, right, 250 countries, that's where it's gone. Who cares where it's gone? But that's what I put, that we've joined the whole lot up with a native title here, right around the world. So all those native people can join here, and then we all use all those shareholders to go in their country and bang the numbers right up. And before long, it will snowball in the same lot of shareholders buying each other's shares. So really, that's it in a nutshell of what we do with a government that's already there. We don't have to make another constitution. With the flag is a constitution. That's why this government is naughty to make a new constitution with the United Nations while this constitution is there. So the British will knock them. You watch what happens. The British will knock them if they try to steal this country with another constitution and take the native title off us and the flag. So it's not what, it wasn't given to them. It wasn't given to Maori. It wasn't given to anybody but native chiefs on that time, 1831. That's the first contract, the letter to the king, and the king says, pick a flag. And in 1834, they picked a flag. That's the second contract. See, if you know contract law. And then they had that contract going. Then the government here designed a third contract with the Declaration of Independence, buried the Constitution inside it, and inside the Declaration, to make another fourth contract in the Treaty of Waitangi for themselves. And that's how they did it. 4 contracts to get there with 500 signatories, and it was just the one or two in the beginning to start the contract off. So it nulled all the other contracts. If I go to court and take this with the lawyer, now we're going to court, this will all come up. It'll all come, it's going to drop the bombshell on everybody. It's going to go bang like that. And no one can refute a British title because they've got a radical title in Wellington that's corrupted. It's corrupted the British title by putting bodgy whakapapas together for their sake. The private corporation in Wellington, that's their own business, nothing to do with anybody. And this business we have here is supposed to be private. It's supposed to be nobody's business to know how the Freemasons work this. But I told everybody anyway, because it's not supposed, nobody's supposed to know anything about the Admiralty and how it works and mortgages and all that sort of thing, and stick it all together. So there, I'm giving it away to everybody so they know, so that they know what the corporations have done, and they're taking full advantage of it in a fraudulent way. And so we catch them with the flag. The flag does it. The flag does it. And the Maui, the flag and the Maui will null the whole lot and liquidate the business. Watch what happens when we liquidate one business. The rest will fall over anywhere. So one hit with one Cook Street title, another one under Parliament to get rid of them, and then one for the whole country that gets the whole lot. Only the document, not the land, the document that makes the money. Just all. The land still belongs to the people on it. So they've got their whakapapa, that's okay. And you can do what you like with it, but it still needs law. Any land needs law. And the British won't let anybody have any country without a law. So they put their law in so that there's a law there to follow and break. So they know how to break it because they put it all together. But see, you have to know these things to make it work. And people are getting there close. They know how it works, birth certificates and all of that. But the birth certificates are gone now, and the Pope got rid of them. He doesn't need them. He got the money out of it. So we're going after that money, all that birth certificate money he's kept and put in his own bank. And he said, no more trusts and no more corporations. I've got rid of you on your own. You're not immune from prosecution. That's why I'm using this court. Nobody's immune from prosecution with that UCC law. So you're not supposed to use UCC law. And the courts here still use it. But if you tell them, they can't use it on you. See, anything to do with trusts and corporations, as long as you can put it in your documents and tell them, you're not allowed to use it because of the multi propria. That's just that law. So there's plenty of laws to go around. I'm using the King's laws of King William III and King William IV to authenticate our documents and make them real instruments. And so this government doesn't recognize them because it's got too many words, too many pictures, too much evidence. They don't like that. That's why they won't do anything. So we step in their court and drop it all on top of them there. But it costs money to go in their court. Costs nothing to come in our court. You just tell the truth and you'll get a crook and make something out of them. So that's what we do. We turn them into cash. The people who are causing all the fraud and keeping all the money, spinning it over, bringing immigrants in with all the money, and then look after the immigrants better than the people here. So all of those, and spraying the skies and flooding the place up. That's how they run their business in the Queen's jurisdiction, not in the King. That's the Queen. So Charlie's there. Charlie has no Admiralty connection to make money in his monarch. There's nothing in it. See, so he's got a problem putting his hand on a stone. He's not a king, legitimate legal king until May. So there's plenty of time to install Ernest Augustus V because he wants his castles back. Now I just pick it that he's getting ready to go on the throne, and we put him on the throne because I put the letter there. I put it all in red. Andy can show you later on, just afterwards. I won't dwell too much. I just want to show you can read it yourself, and how he can pick up taking over. But he's a German, so what? It's the document with their name on it that matters to make us keep our sovereignty intact with the corporation until we get control of what we're going to do with the corporation with that flag. We have more power than Britain with this flag. If you know, got 20 instruments to go right over the top of everybody, even the states. And Biden's using it to corporatize Cook Islands. It's not a New Zealand colony now. It's an American country. So they use this flag. They use this flag because they know it's a proper republic flag, a constitutional flag, a municipal corporation's flag with those 8-point stars to pick up the reins. That's King William III, there, right there. And that's a war flag. It's a declaration of war on anybody that gets in the road between Britain and anybody else that they're doing business with. So it's the same with us. Anybody gets in the road, they'll get that flag on their head and build a whole lot of them. And that sticks. I got high figures to make sure we liquidate the Rothschilds business. Their pound note is going out of business into the digital currency. So we just liquidate the whole lot. As soon as we get on Cook Street, poof, gone. See? So that's how we use the power of that flag. It's been sitting up in the library for 183 years, and they just didn't research the flag itself being a land flag and no dock and no bar. That's why we have in court hearings without a bar or a dock to put anybody in. It's just straight anywhere, under the sea, in the air, anywhere. So there. So I'm going to read this what I've put, just to put people's mind at ease. All I say belongs to you. I can't take it with me when I go. But the thing is, I'm doing my part. Everybody does their part. Gregory does his part. Andrew does his part. We're trying to get to the bottom of all this fraud to keep our country from being stolen. That's what this is all about. The Native Court is to retain our country, our children, our economy, our own freedom, our control of our own life. We don't need somebody to say you're going to own nothing and be happy. And I see people are losing their money in the banks now, shutting up from Friday last in America. So there's where all the fraud is in America. You can see them talking. You can see the fraud spitting out of their mouth and fighting amongst themselves with guns and causing all the war in Ukraine. And Putin is just demolishing them because they're not trained to be in those conditions. And the Russians just know how to survive in cold weather and rough conditions. And those people that are, the NATO has got nobody there. They're just using other people to die for their sake. They're all dying for the NATO, those wolves, pack of wolves, they're all banded together against one man, Putin, just one man. And all those thugs and pirates are trying to outdo him, and he's making mincemeat out of them. But too many lives are getting lost. Putin didn't want that. He didn't want to kill anybody. He just wanted to make an agreement with NATO, but they wouldn't listen. They just want war. They got blood in their brains and blood all over the place, all over the world, capturing countries, stealing countries with this flag. They're using this flag. The Queen put it over there, and away they went. So there, that's it. So I'm going to read what I'm saying so I can clear the air with our executive. They know what I'm doing. I've been at it too long, and one day I'll pass the reins over, but I like to see no mistakes. I'm a mechanic to fix mistakes or fix something broken or going to break halfway. I don't like anything that doesn't get tuned up properly before it hits the sea and the big open spaces of economy. If you're not prepared for that, where's the plan? So this has everything in it: the plans, the business plans, the titles, the people that go into a business together with a good, sound plan and no fraud in it. No gambling, no crypto is out. No, none of that. The cryptos are falling apart because that's where all the stolen money is, all hidden in the crypto. Crypto's all right, but it's how they're running their business. And they're going to get caught out by these WEF are starting to uncover them and put them out of business. That I can see them falling apart. All those people are losing money. I've seen people lose millions by hoping they're going to make money out of it. And because they don't keep up to date with it, they lose it. So I don't like people losing and people gaining all the time because they know how to play the game. So here we go. I'm just going to go Monday, 13th of March, 2023. One, I copied the files onto the stick for Eddie and the lawyer to action now, right now, in the High Court, and to go over 20 books that is still getting scanned, still unbound, and it's going to cost quite a bit to get the copy of those books so I can lend it to them, the lawyer, and they, because on my website and on my Facebook site, there's only snippets of main parts of the documents, but not all the story and everything to go with each native court hearing signed by the old people who have died now and left with all on my head to finish off with people who are not conversant enough with how this works. So unless you're in these trades that I'm in, a few trades to do with land and all this Freemason stuff, especially because they are the ones that mastered the certificates to put on the land and survey the land in Scotland, Scottish whites, and went right over the world with it. So it's the same plan right over the world, and here is the same as well. So that's how you make money, and it won't go away in a hurry. It's going to be there for a long time because there's no plan to replace it. That I know how you're going to make money out of land without instruments or security over something. First, if not birth certificates, we got security over the mobile phone, which is your number that we just credit straight out anything we recover. We just pay the expenses of what's going on, then dish the rest out because there's plenty more coming in, complaints coming into the court that we get. We can contract out those Marsic, Gavin Marsic. He did Cook Street the first time, he was under contract. They were so confident, he led them, and they were so confident they can get it. I said, okay, you do it. But the thing is, they had the wrong jurisdiction. They had Hawaiian jurisdiction of the king there, and so that had something to do with it. But however, I said, get the key and I'll pay you up. See, so long as you got the key, I've got the mortgage ready to go, the overdraft ready to go, and the pound note to kick into life. So that's all set up. It was set up when Gregory went in. I had it all set up, and the lawyers, new lawyers, because my old lawyer went. So I'm just talking about how they make money, and you have to use those instruments, or there's no other way of making money. So you still have to go through the government, the Reserve Bank, or long as the government knows you're getting money from somewhere, as long as they get their tax out of it, they don't care where you get it from. So anybody can bring money in the country, but you can't sneak it in and get away with it, because they'll find out. So there. But Marcius, Gavin, didn't get arrested. I got arrested. I wasn't the one that went into the office and yanked them out by the neck. He was. Gavin was the one that went into the office and ordered them around, ordered them to get out. So, but how come he didn't get arrested? I've never understood how he got away and I didn't. And I wasn't there. I was out on the road. I stayed right out. You see? So that's another thing in the court hearing, in this high court we're going to. All of the things that happened. How come I got in prison and they couldn't find nothing? I was only doing my job as a private investigator of native lands. And they just got in the road of the contract. You see? They got in the way. And the police, everybody that tampered with the contract is up with $1 trillion on their head. And for all the time back to 2015, right up to now, all the back, I told them £1 trillion a day. For every day I'm not in there. So there, I'm not in there yet. So Gregory, we made a decision today with the executive, and they'll have their say when it comes to you afterwards, or what you want to do, or whether we want to look after our court and get the court sorted out first. And the court has to fix the problem of Cook Street, because they won't listen and come into court like this. They're still not here, and we don't expect them to turn up, because they're not used to something like this, and they still recognize it as not in their system. So I'll just carry on now. I've given the stick. I just have to pick the books up tomorrow, give it to Eddie, and then he can give it to his lawyer, and then I'll just leave it up to them. I don't want it to drag on for weeks and weeks and months. I want it done straight away. And there's no reason why it can't be done in the court straight away. Pay the thing and get on with it, because it's too much fraud. It's gonna bust everything up. I sent Greg a letter. That's today. I think it was to Andy, Leah, Hone, Kate, Phil, Fitu, and Philip Newton, Cecile, Reg, Eleni, and myself. So there, these are my orders from Awaroa Native Magistrate Court, Helensville. So there, we've got Reg there to back for the Manukau family, but he was a bit weary of going ahead of Edu Manukau, and so I just put on the documents that if Edu comes back, he'll step aside and Edu will go in. But Edu can't do the Freemason stuff. It's all in me as the executor and successor to all of the Freemason stuff, and not Edu. He's in the United Nations. He's gone that way with Aotearoa and the Maori government. Aotearoa. So he's stuck in the Wellington crown and not the British crown. So there, it's a total divide, and that's why Moi Manukau didn't tell him or didn't tell anybody what he was doing. But he let me know, because he knew I could do something about it. And so here we are. We're doing something about him wanting his land back. That's the whole country. Not just one bit here, one bit there, the whole country with Te Waikato Wharehere Manukau. That's why they got rid of him, to make sure his name is not on the record. You won't find it anywhere. But Refa Manukau's name is there. It's there plain sight, 1862 Native Land Act. It's there. That fixes the native title to the country before the Maori Land Court and the New Zealand Crown titles came along. That was there in the first place. That one. That's the one we go on. See? So all the titles in New Zealand come out of that. So there, from that. And it's got the Confederation flag with the Freemasons. The British agents were there to make sure the flag was flying on that block of land, and where the court was. It was flying on the court, and Mount Eden Borough Council. It's been flying over there. They fly it over there, even like now. They still fly that flag because they know that's where the authority was, Mount Eden, where those bones were crunched up in Mount Eden and One Tree Hill. See, so when you stitch it all together, the history of the Manukau, that's why they wanted to get rid of it so there's no trace of it. But too bad I'm there to put it all together and tell the whole world. And then all the other world countries will follow suit with a native title and get their memorials back too. These are executive of the court warrant from me and Native Magistrate King's Bench Court authority in Hamilton online. So the court carries on from there on the Zoom hearing in Hamilton, where the authority is still attached to Awaroa, online jurisdictions. Surrogate King William IV, that's who I am, and that was already gone through the Waitangi, it's gone through, the chief signed it, as being me, the surrogate king, authority over anybody else authority to administer the king's business. So that's what I'm doing, the king's business, as if he was here or he's captain on a ship. So that's what I'm acting as, his captain to put the courthouse up and start the business off. Or go watch and follow the ship backwards. Maui Crown, legal authority, bloodlines, royal ties in Wānoa family, Tapu Tapu Ātea Marae, Raiatea and Rapa Nui, to Tauraroa royalty, that's the East Coast. There's supposed to be a moai up there on the land blocks closest to the sun. So that's why putting a big project over there. That's 25 billion to put the tidal turbines and do all the land, everything on 347 hectare block. So that's a model for all the other land blocks. Doesn't matter. Anywhere in the country that's a shareholder will do the same. We'll just fly over their land, work out how much it is, go past the iwis and their business and pay for the whole lot of it. And that's just some more business. The tidal turbine on its own turns over 6 billion a year from a $25 billion project. So that's the fuel, hydrogen fuel economy. We get that going, we get the whole lot of the fuel right through the world. And that's a strategic military landing point for the aircraft and the passenger planes. Land on all the bridges around the world, 60 in the Pacific, and the first one to go to is Tonga, to lock up the Kermadec Trench between here and Tonga, and then Samoa, and then Hawaii, and then Tahiti, and so forth around, and Papua New Guinea, Australia. So they'll be dotted around all over the place, so we can land, take off anywhere, and fuel up for nothing. It costs you nothing for sea water power and water money from the water out of the sea. So there, that's the water currency to replace the gold. No more gold. It's all water, and you can drink it and live on it. So there, that's our economy going with this native court hearing. Once we get one piece of land, bang, all that is ready to go. It's taken a few years to put all that together and make sure that everybody is equal. There's no one higher than the other. And so that's our philosophy, is everyone is the same right through the whole world, get the same deal. So it's all cooperative, not in corporations. Like these corporations have trustees, and they are the legal owners. There's where the problem is with iwi trustees. They are the legal owners that's been jamming us up from getting on the land. And the cooperative are the shareholders, are the owners, not trustees. the shareholders will determine what happens to the land. That's anybody, no matter what race they are. They'll all be in the area, and they'll have the same rights as what they would have in their own country, and live happily with each other and share in our own resources, and not so much given to these corporates to go and make money for themselves and their elite families. We're going after them. We're going to seek them out and make them pay up instead of getting away with tax havens. We're going straight into them. The World Economic Forum is going into those havens, and they're starting to uncover them and find out where all the missing taxes. That's for their business. Well, we are similar with corporations too. We're the ones that created the corporations in the first place, this flag, and that King William III. So there, that's that bit. So 3, Gregory is the moderator, but he can't speak for the executive. That's our executive business. That's the business end of the Native Court, and can't speak for the Awaroa Manukau Confederation and the Manukau family. So there, I'm speaking for the Manukau family and teach them how it works and what they've missed out on, because they really got screwed. The Manukau's have got nothing out of it, and they weren't happy with Mohi because he wouldn't open his mouth because he'd get a silver bullet in his head. Well, I didn't care because I got the Almighty and Moai to look after me, that I don't care what I say, so long as everybody knows what I'm doing. I don't have any secrets or skeletons to hiding away. It's all out in the open, and don't play with the documents or anything I put together, because they're for everybody, and it's a learning exercise, and that's what's going to take a long time, because it's very intensive stuff that that we're doing. A big case to free the world. So that's what it is. So Awaroa Manukau Confederation flag, Native Magistrate Court Bank, Helensville, where we got our legal jurisdiction from, and not Okiato, Russell, Bay of Islands, because they burnt it down. They burnt down that it's got no legacy to have a native court, although any native court has to come out of the Helensville one to make another native court. So that is a process. You've got to get this one off the ground first before you can put another one up, because they've destroyed that one. The Hone Heke destroyed that one. So the British said, stuff here, we're going to Helensville and put it up over there where it's a bit more peaceful. And that's what they did. Russell, Bay of Islands, redundant. It's redundant Native Magistrate Court. Hone Heke burnt down, destroyed by Ngāpuhi. I speak for the jurisdiction of this court in Helensville, not anybody else taking over my lifetime's work. Link the native chiefs, Rewharewha Manukau and Te Waikato Wharehere Manukau to Queen Victoria. That's Rewharewha Manukau to Queen Victoria, and Te Waikato Wharehere Manukau to King George IV, 1823 and 1862 with Queen Victoria. Why we have Queen Victoria and Rewharewha Manukau, that's the Queen Victoria Trust. I was going there. That's because we've got no head of the trust. There's no head of, there's only Sofia in Spain. That's only one trustee, because the Queen sacked Andrew because of the stuff he was getting mixed up in and giving the royals a bad name. And so he's still got a bad name. And so there's only Sofia. And so the King Filipino and his wife, they're assuming they have the right to that trust and the gold that they've got. See, there's gold there. There's gold in Philippines. That's where I'm going back there. My wife is from there. I'm going to sort that out with the church aid. He only gets paid to look after it. He don't own it. Our trust does. And the gold in the Cayman Islands is all dust. It's you can only see yellow on the ground, but it's all made into dust and buried. That's where Richard Branson and Trump is. They've got their own islands, and it's all buried there. So there, that's heaps of it there. It's all over the place. The Vatican's got gold. So this big pound note liquidates the whole lot one shot. And we pay the military to go and chase in their country. That's why everything goes through this court. In all those countries, we contract the military there or the police to go and chase after where all the missing gold is and do it at the same time as their native title. And same with England. We'll do the same over there as what we do here. But it has to come from this court and nowhere else where it hasn't got its legs in the ground firmly to Britain. Queen Victoria and King George. I am the executive of the Awaroa Native Magistrate Court and the Manukau Land Company, Edinburgh. So that connection with that company the Manukau Land Company is in Glasgow, and so the Edinburgh Magistrate Court is Te Waikato for the Here Manukau. That title there. I haven't seen that one. I was going to get Andrew Little Gordon. He's just up the road from there. When I know where it is, he can go and pick it up and make sure he gets paid to go and pick it up. So that'll identify the Maungatautari title with Te Waikato for the Here Manukau. Manukau, Arapuni. So I see that that's 2, 3. I'll get through this in a bit. That's why we got Reed's Manukau, Philip Te Awhitu and Philip Newton to put the legal authority into that Awaroa Native Magistrate Court, where we got our authority of Rogan, Manukau and Wānoa legal advocate. That's what I am. Successor president. That's what I've been given up at Waitangi. And Mohi himself signed those documents in those books I'm getting printed out because he signed everything that I take over on his behalf, because no one was allowed to go near the Freemasons unless you know what you're doing. And at that time I was fresh in real estate in Remuera. Freemasons corporation flag. So that flag is a corporation flag in Helensville. It's not a corporation flag in Waitangi on those flagpoles. There's a whakaputanga flag up there with no business. It has the Wellington Crown, New Zealand Crown, they are using the business of the Confederation. That's why they use the word Confederation of the United Tribes to hook themselves to the one in Helensville and use the whakaputanga in the government because it's not the same. See, so they're not allowed to touch this contract. They're not allowed to touch or lower the flag down because that belongs to the British. They can't take it down and put another one up in its place. It's locked there in a contract. What else was there? The contract business flag flew on the 10-acre block, 20 Commercial Road, Helensville, still in Mohi Manukau's name. The land is still in his name and his son's name, Eru, Awaroa Native Magistrate Court, Bank, Confederation of Chiefs, 1985. That's when he started the Confederation off in 1985 to head off the 1986 Constitution, which was a threat to the 1852 Constitution of New Zealand. That gave us self-government and our own sovereignty, but this government legislated it out and put the 1986 Constitution. But so Mohi wasn't able to null it. He just couldn't do it. And so the government's got away with it with a fraud 1986 Constitution. Now they want a new corridor Constitution with the United Nations to steal the whole lot and take the water, take everything. Established not the whakaminenga whakaputanga Maori flag at Waitangi. Marshal Kawanata Ho Paul put his hands on the office staff, just answering Greg, and that's what he did to pull them out. He yanked them out of the chair and pulled them out to put them out of the office. They said to me, "Oh, we managed to get them out of the office for you." I said, "Yeah, but you didn't get the key." So that ended the contract when the police came along and told us to get off the land. I wasn't going to muck around. I just got off the land. I got called in by they had their police. Marshits rang the police up to come down. Oh no, he didn't ring the police. The owners, people in the office rang the police, but Marshits was caught up with the police. So I already been to the police to say, if I get in trouble, I'll ring my police. So my police came along and Marshits said, oh, you come into the office because there's a bit of problem with the police and you have to sort it out. So I went in there. My police said, no, you go out on the road. Well, I'll leave it to us. We'll handle it. So that's where I had to go out, and my police handled the whole situation until my police said to me, what do you want to do? I said, what does the marshals want to do? And Gavin, and they and because they'll be arrested if they don't get off. I said, well, I'll see John Monger. He was supposed to be the leader, but they were all leaders. They all wanted the power to run the whole thing. That's what stuffed up. You had three chiefs, Lou and Paul, the fellow Ho Paul, Para Ho Paul. He was a CEO of their company, and then you had Gavin. He was a big haunchy guy that ordered everybody around, and then you had John Monger with his Hawaiian king jurisdiction and seals on our documents, that he was using the documents with his seal on. So, so then I said, what do you want to do, John Monger? You want to get arrested or you want to get out? He said, no, we'll get out. I said, okay, that's it. You'll hop out and do what the police say. Get off. So there, that ended that contract. So Gregory's one contract is similar, but not as bad, because there was no arrest and no imprisonment. So that imprisonment is a lot of fraud inside how they did it. So that's another day for that one. So the respondents were not on Cook Street site, were in 370 Shortland Street. They were across the road from the office. They were in this. This is James Pierce Brown and Simon Brent Roundtree had an office across the road from where they are now, and bought those blocks there. So office working did not come down. They didn't. They should have come down to the block, because those poor people in the office, they were terrified. They were terrified with the marshals. Didn't muck around. They just said get out, and so they all ended up going outside the office. But then the police turned up, and there was the end of that working. So that answers that one. And so they never got charged. No one got charged, even yanking them out by the neck and by the hair, yanking them out. Those people would not have put a complaint against that. I don't know why, but they never got charged, because I know why. They used my documents, and my lawyer was looking after them and said, oh, your case is next day, not today. This is for those marshals. That was my day of my court hearing, was that day, but I never got a summons to go to court. So they had their court hearing on my court day. So I thought, I'll go and spy on them to see what they're doing. So I turned up, and that's when the marshals came out and said, oh, it's your fault. You're in trouble. And when my lawyer came out, I said, what's happening? You're supposed to be there for me, not for those fellas. You're getting paid out of my birth certificate, not those fellas. I contracted you to do it. So he's in trouble. He gets the bill too. See, so they're all trying to get around me and keep me out of the way. Marshals, yeah, not changed. The responders were not on Cook Street. Oh, that's right. They were in their office. I contacted them to do the job, to get me the key, same as Gregory, Cook, sheriffs are under contract to this court. So you're under contract to us, the executive, and the council of chiefs at Awaroa. So you have your own council up. I wanted to set up with your native court up there, but it didn't happen. And so you can't be in the native court in Awaroa, Helensville, because that belongs to the people that were being approved by Regs Manukau and I have to keep in touch with him, and he keeps in touch with Eru Manukau and their family to see what's going on. He hasn't rang me up because he's reading everything. So as long as he doesn't ring me up, there's no problem. he understands what's going on, and I email him all the time to keep him up to date, because for him it's new. He didn't know this was going on, as there is no official native court in Ukiato, shut down by British Crown agents. So no authority from there has to come from Aotearoa on Mohi Manukau land block, courthouse, bank, still in his name. So everything is still in his name, thank goodness, because it's on the title certificate. I have settled the matter already, no negotiation. You can't negotiate on a default contract or any contract. If you know contract law, you as a third party can't come in and change what's there originally. Everything was 2008 when Cook Street started, all the way through 2012 with the High Court in London, and to 2015, and all the way till now. It's still the same contract from the first owner to the second owner to the third owner. So there, you can't interfere with a contract that has been put in place, and it's all over the world. Everybody knows, because it's unfinished. It's not settled. I have settled the matter already. No negotiation or third party approved to allowed to talk over me. What I have shared is final, documented. See, even those priests that came in, they breached the contract. You see, they don't care if they breach anything, but they breach the contract by engaging with those landowners. When it goes to the High Court, they're really going to get it. They're really going to get it. These lawyers that looks at the contract side of it, they'll know who's interfering with the business of this court. It's a business. Corporation business supposed to be private. Our business is supposed to be private, but I didn't. I made it public. No one's business to create to something into encroach into the Manukau Land Company Scottish rights business. So it's supposed to be private and out of people's way, like the Queen. You can't inquire into the Queen's business because it's private. It's supposed to be like this with this too. But I'm not like that. I don't like those sort of things. Glasgow and Edinburgh Magistrate Courts 1823 overrides the 1835 Corporation Real Estate Contract business. No one's business. Private. If I didn't tell anyone, no one would find out how it works. Is my prerogative to say so. I say if it is a High Court matter, so I went to the High Court, London, but had no money or support from the tribes up north and the tribes in Auckland, from anywhere, because they couldn't understand what I was talking about. And they didn't like money. They said it's not about money. So it's still like that now. It's not about money, but you have to borrow money from somewhere to go and buy some bread and fill your car with gas and pay the power bill. But had no support from anyone here, least of all from Maori. I got no support from Maori. No, didn't want to know. They didn't want to know. Now I go into the High Court and clean everything up. So that's for me at my age, 74 now, it's a big job. It's a really big job, and stress on myself to take all these tupunas, load on my head of what they left me to do, and get the country back, or get the land back at least anyway. Myself on my own, competent witness, as nobody knows anything what I know. Kororareka, Ukiato, 1831, has no native magistrate court with any chief's name on it. So the names had to be on the land at Ukiato. There's no names. They took them all off. There's there's no native names on there. They're all chucked into Rafidi with Referef Manukau buried over there up on the hill. See? So they chucked them all over there, out of the way, so that they got their own people on Russell. And so that's why you can't make a native court, because they're all European. You see? You can't make a native court when there's Europeans here and no native. See? So they've got one Maori land title there of a gravesite, but the name on it is Manihiri or something, but it's not a native. It's a budgie Maori name. All the name, I can tell a name that's not a real native. And so they've got that name on to make it look like there's one Maori land there. So it's really, really sad how they did it. Stake a claim with any chief's name on it to the land. To stake a claim has to be an indigenous surname on his own 2 feet, not a whāngai or use someone else's surname. And that's a British title I'm talking about. And don't work on a real estate certificate of title transfer. They'll only deal with the names on the title, like Cook Street. If you haven't got your name, they said, no, you got no interest in this land. Just what they said to Moy and me. No, you got no interest in the land. So they wouldn't even let us register as an unregistered interest in the land. I've got the Moai there as an interest in the land, and Mohi's got the interest of Referef Manukau. They wouldn't even put unregistered interest in the land. They just said to us in the Treaty Claims Office, Treaty Settlements, they said, you've got no financial interest in the land. See, that's what they said. And whatever way we tried, they just wouldn't let him put his name on the title. So this way, I'll make sure it goes on for the document's sake to get the country back. I know the original surnames can't be changed. Has to be an original native surname on the title, speaking speaking in their name and name on the title of the land. At Okiara nothing. I checked, so you can't shortcut the Freemasons' head lease titles from New Zealand. So we're holding the head lease, and the New Zealand Crown is holding, and Maori is holding the sublease. So head lease over the top of the sublease at the bottom. So the head lease can whip off the sublease out of the way. So that's what's going to happen. Head lease titles from New Zealand, sublease titles. That's it. Protestant Dutch make the orders as a surrogate king. Just about that. From Hamilton, but legally from Punga Punga Marae Rock, the big rock memorial of Te Waikato Wharehere Manukau, title native to Britain in Arapuni, King George IV, 1823, Edinburgh, Magistrate Court. So I haven't got those documents. I'll get them. They're there. I'll find them. I've been trying so hard to ring them up, and I haven't been able to find them because the Freemasons have hidden them right away. Freemasons Land Registry Certificate Origins, Manukau Land Company, Glasgow, 1682, Referef Manukau. So it's really a lot of work to bring down the corporations. It's hard to bring down corporations with our own Confederation flag was flying on the 10-acre block in Awaroa, Helensville, and on Mount Eden Council buildings. Flew there for years. Didn't cede sovereignty to Britain. That's Ngāpuhi. Didn't cede sovereignty. That's been confirmed on the 6th of February 2023. Don't alter the default contracts. So the government said to Ngāpuhi, well, the tribunal said the Crown has to give the land back, so you have to buy the lease of the New Zealand Crown in Wellington. So that's why I had the pound note to go and liquidate the whole thing and give the bill to the government to get rid of the mortgage on it. But then we've still got the British one on top of that. So you've got a mortgage over a mortgage to borrow money from the World Bank. So we don't have to borrow money from nobody. We just use the pound note to create the wealth from everybody's criminal organizations on the fixed contracts. Police are on a fixed contract. Don't alter default contracts and negotiate with police on fixed contracts. They should know that. They should know better. The police can't use the flag flown out Kyoto. You burnt it down. No, no authority. Gavin Marasich never got arrested. No, I already said that. That was a mystery why he didn't get arrested. I'll never understand that one. Gavin led the UN Federal Maori Marshals onto Cook Street, 77 Cook Street, as a contract deal to get me the keys to the property. And so why did he not get arrested? And I got arrested. I was not the one in the office pulling them out. I was on the roadway, 77 Cook Street entrance. That's a mystery now. So Gregory didn't get the key. So there we have to decide with the others in the executive and the council of Awaroa what we're going to do about that, because really I've already got it in our documents, 250 countries this native court set up to go and use their system, their government, pay their police, pay their military out of the pound note to go and round up all the criminals with the writ warrant. So we get the writ warrant going here. It goes to 250 countries right through the world and pays the military and the police to go and look for all the stolen wealth, their stolen wealth as well as our trust. Anything to do in our trust, the Queen Victoria Trust, and also birth certificates in those countries that belongs to that country. It doesn't belong to us. So that goes back to that country. We just worry about our birth certificates here at 100 million each. That's the value, current value of birth certificates of how much money the government can get out of you. And so I've got my own birth certificate sitting at $1 trillion of what the government has to say to me in the High Court. When we go to court, that's another case. How much money did you take out of my trust? With 4 John 1-0s, 4 different ways of making John 1-0, and including the lower case. So Natalie Flower Du Brown put my name in capitals, but when she went to get the money up, she put it in lowercase on her own documents, her own police sealed documents, not from a lawyer or a court judge. She did it herself, and it libeled the whole police. I told the police, you all 15,000 police get $1 trillion on your head each. And so that bill goes to the government here, Wellington, and the balance goes to the Crown and Britain, the British Crown, and on the ones that are running the business. And all the ones before that are retired or gone, we go after everybody that was a politician way back. So there, that's a job for those people to do over there. We can't go there and without authority from that country because you're not resident. It has to be a resident in that native country to do anything native court. So there, we have to follow the government's rules there and the government's rules in Britain, our partner, not the Queen's partner, the King's partner. The Queen's got her partner, the Maoris and the Pākehās in the New Zealand Crown Government private corporation in Wellington. See, so we don't have a private corporation. We just have the flag corporation to go and bang them with the flag corporation. It's a corporation flag. That's it. You go and look it up and do some research. You'll find it's a corporation flag. Looking at it, it is. It's everything corporate. So we've got that instrument to use its fullest extent. So now I have to get the land myself through the High Court. And in 2012, I went through the High Court Rolls Building, London, but had no money. No one bothered to help me from Maori organisations, didn't believe me or do anything about it. It was Andy that helped me to raise money to get me around and to get me over there, and David Ellis that put me up in his property and financially at the same time. That's how I got around from Andy and his people we set up over there, the native magistrate court in High Court, in the Supreme Court in Westminster. We set it all up. The company, Moai Powerhouse Group Limited, is still it's not registered, it's dormant, but I can just pay the £100 fee and it's away. As soon as we get on Cook Street, open that one up and away we go. So there, that's our partnership government dual federal flag. It's a federal republic flag. There, everything, there are lots of things in it. Gregory can respond to this as you afterwards, as you are contracted to do this Native Magistrate King's Bench Court, and all my years of stitching this together. I'm just about there. Not the Awaroa Native Magistrate Court answerable to Ngāpuhi, who have no connection legally to Britain with that flag, as the Confederation is the only recognised flag in Awaroa Native Court to Britain in the bank, the Awaroa Bank timeline of events, unbroken sovereignty all the way through Native Land Court until Queen Victoria came and broke the sovereignty off, and so we're stitching it back up with King Ernest Augustus V to put it back together again and get rid of the Queen and all her thuggery and pedophiles and spraying the skies and trying to take the whole world over by force. And they're using our Admiralty law for bad purposes. Native Land Court, nothing in Okiato to make that, and British authority is taking over all my years of work. It's not going to go down too well. The tail wagging the head at Punga Punga Marae, Mangatotui Mountain, Te Waikato Wharehere in Manukau, is a male chief, not a female. And Kawharu, Hu Kawharu in Kaipara, is not a real Kawharu, it's Hona Ross Kawharu in Nelson. He's the real Kawharu from Raglan, Whangaroa Raglan, in that area of the 1852 Constitution time of Britain, where Auckland went from the North Cape down past Taupo, south of Taupo, right across. All that is Auckland. That's the title we're going under with Te Waikato Wharehere and Manukau. That's 6 regions of the country, and we're going back to the 6 regions of the country to get into the trust, the Queen Victoria Trust, all that wealth, to get all the land back in the will with what we've got in instruments and the flag, and to make it work on this native land, then work on all the other native lands. And their people do the work, not our people. We can't go there and tell them on their own land what to do. So we don't do that. It's a no-no. We use them and pay them the whole bill. The flag does that. The flag does that. Room hearing Monday, 13th. Hang on. Native Magistrate Court, Kingsman's Court. Freemasons, if married, don't have that. See, that's another lesson on Freemasonry. But they're all bad people that are running all the scam in Parliament, Westminster, but they've got all those people that stuck everything together as a piece of the Crown entity, their stake in the big Crown in Britain. And so we've got our stake. I'm saying we've got 60%, Britain's got 40%, because we're being done out. And that's what I'm saying. And the Freemasons will have 10%, and the Vatican will have nothing because they stole everything. And so we're going, all the thugs get nothing. See, so we can challenge who's got what in the Queen Victoria Trust, because it's still a corporation, and we still have the memorials for that with the Moai. That's what the Moai is. It's the stake holder in that Crown entity that belongs to us. Everything that's been taken from 1837 onwards, that's where it went corrupted. So you can start the corruption from 1837, but start the bill from 1689 with the Municipal Corporations Act to pick up the rent on the land. So that's where that started from, and then the rest will happen. That's the way we're doing it in this court. how do we get everything back one shot? I don't want to go, oh, little bits and bits, just bang the whole lot, bang one, bang the next, bang the whole lot. When you go on Gregory, you are still under contract with the Awaroa Native Magistrate Court, Helensville, no keys. And from the exercise that you did a good job, but it's still a way off. It's still, we still got the problem of getting the message through to the Crown and the police. It's really the police in a way, and so we're not talking to them to make a deal with them. There's no deals in this court. It's it. We've already made the bill. We've already made the statements of who's going to get what out of it, who's going to be on the stand. Their photos are there. You can't change the photo and what is up against them. It's fixed. It's all fixed at 2008 for Cook Street. It's 2008 when it first started off with Bailey's Real Estate. They're going to lose all their business. The whole lot. I warned them. I gave them a book and I said, don't sell this land because you'll lose your business. The same way as Cook Street. They lose the whole lot, everything, because that's the price they pay for digging up all those bones on One Tree Hill, then crushing them all up. They're worth heaps to me. All those Manukau, all the tribesmen, they were the biggest tribe in this country, the Manukau tribesmen. And they demolished them at Cornwallis on Pupunga, Marae, Par side, at Huia, and North Head of Manukau Harbour. So they lost a lot of lives there, lost a lot of lives in Waiuku on the south head. All that, the marae there is the Manukau marae. They changed it to Tahana marae. See, the Ngāpuis did that. See, they did that. They changed all the names and put the females in. See, so my marae down the east coast, it's got females on. They took my ancestor off, Uataha, and put and took Mataru Wano off and stuck the woman there, and that corrupted the whole title, the whole British title, corrupted the whole thing. See, so they did that all over the place just to get rid of us. Okay, that's the end of it. Yeah, that's the finish of that. So I won't go on any more. I think I've said enough, but I was just going to skip over, just put those documents up, that one of Ernest Augustus, and I'll just spend 5 minutes on that. So that's him as a German but Protestant legacy to the documents as a king. So he's the legitimate British-born king that's got the throne in his sights. He can go straight onto the throne when we go there. We'll put him on the throne, our executive and natives, and we're going straight there to stick him straight on the throne because that document says it all. So I won't read it, just skip through it. But there is Sophia with the Protestant and him connected to the Protestant in there. But that's for you to read. I won't read it because I just split it up and just highlighted in red the main parts of who is the next successor in our bloodlines of this King William III Dutch. So he was a Dutch, and the Dutch put all these certificates of corporations together. They made the corporation law. They made all the admiralty law. They put all that together for circumventing the world and used us as a model and put the flag here. Later, it was King William IV that commercialized or put the Municipal Corporations Act 1835 with that flag. See, so if everything's wrapped up in that flag, 1835 Corporations Act to pick up the rent on the lease, head lease lands. That's the head lease, not the sublease, the head lease, straight over with the British lease. And the government's got their own lease. So there, you've got that that Maungatautari lease, head lease, straight to Britain, and you've got the Queen's lease to New Zealand up in Awaroa, with Rewharewha. So that's the Queen's one, and with our Queen's trust there, tied up in that court. But the other one is the main one in Mangatautari to King George IV, earlier than the flag in 1835. So the legitimate flag is in Helensville to Britain. They recognize that because they put it there. They put it there. The court bank put it there so that they can hide underneath it and fool everybody with the other one up in Waitangi. So there, that's good reading there of who is the legitimate king of these documents and of the throne business. All that crown wealth that the elites have got their hands on and the Rothschild banks are spinning around for themselves. We're going to seize the whole lot of them for the native people of the world and share it out amongst them in the 250 countries. Just some of them are there, but they're not actually operating as a country, but they're there. The names of their countries are still there. It's like maraes. Some are registered and some are not registered. So that's how they look after the ones that are registered and put money, the government puts money to fix them up and all that. But the unregistered ones are either burnt down or rotten or gone altogether. But they're still there. That's what I'm saying. So I'll put citation there so that where that is very important, how Ernest Augustus is the rightful king and not Charlie. So we force this through and don't petition him to the throne. We actually put him on the throne as our right, as trustees. In the native court, you're a trustee. In the Maori land court and the government of New Zealand's courts, you are beneficiaries. That's the difference. That is the difference. There's Sophia there. So being Protestant line, and there's Ernest Augustus there. He's still married to the princess there of Monaco. So they were given the consent by Queen Elizabeth to marry into Britain because he's naturalized British citizen. So there's his son there. That's the next successor. But Ernest, the father, don't like him and who he's marrying. He was dead against him, but it's too bad. He'll take up if he doesn't take it up. This guy is taking it up. He's 40, and Ernest Augustus is 69. So that's their year. And this guy's been married for a while, that young fella. So that's our next choice. And there's King. That's you see the 8-point star he's got on. That's the rightful 8-point star. All the other monarchs have got different 8-point star, but that's his crown here. Ernest Augustus crown there, and he's what you call it. But that's his monarch thing. What you call it? Yeah. So that's his legacy. So that's the end of that. You can have a good read of that and how that fits. And the other one, Andy, we'll just skip through the other one so that we've put it through the court, the court case, and what went out of the court to Gregory, and then he did his job, and so we have to determine ourselves where to from here. So I'm leaving that open to the executive and the council. That's there, it should be there, and for people to know how we think and what's the next stage. We've got this far without a hitch. There is no complaints and nothing happening, even though we're saying what we're saying. And so I put Gregory's home guard in there to make it look more presentable for the court to see if that's what's going to make any difference to seizing the land. If he would have got it, we would have had no problems in moving forward if he did it but he did a professional job. I'll give him that. But the thing is, it's up to the executive because they have to take over from me, and I can't do everything. So I'm relying on them that have stuck with me every day. They're here with me every day, and so Cecile is not with us every day as a PhD in business administration. So I'm contracting anybody that's got the qualifications, and I screen them, who will come in, and our team will oversee them and let the experts do the job. That's why every property business we seize, we leave the people there to run the business because they know better, and they don't. No one loses their job. Just those two landowners who know that they're breaking the law, and they don't care because the police look after them, and the courts, and the judges, and and that's all they've got going for them is just a complaint, nothing else. They got no facts, no titles, no nothing, just a complaint that we're on their property. And so we moved off as because the police said so. It's the police that said so, not the owners. The police said so. So the police are third party in this contract. They get a pound note on their head, £1 trillion on each of those face recognition police to pay for the bill of getting in my road. That's what I keep saying. They got in my road from the court, and I'm making all the rules because I know what I'm doing, and nobody can say much about it unless they know just as much. But even the police and the lawyers, I'm waiting for the lawyers to come and say something, but they won't go near it. And all the lawyers I went to didn't want to be involved because they knew if they say one thing wrong, bang, they're gone. That's how you treat criminals and thugs in this court. You don't muck around. You tell them straight, and it's up to them to refute it. That's it. If they don't refute it tonight, or come and say that's rules against them in their court. So that's what they don't turn up tonight. That's our advantage in the High Court. That's why I'm talking like this, because I'm going to use this in the court with his lawyer and to put more ammunition. That's all the affidavits, the 40 affidavits so far on video in the native court, and 40 documents, affidavits against them, stacked up on top of all the rest of the affidavits, all the way back to 2008. A lot of affidavits just for Cook Street, and books and books and books, just 20 books just for Cook Street on the whole history of how it was got in the first place, and who's on it, and whose name's on it, and whose name is not on it, and whose name is wrong, and whose name is right. So there, that's just to show you that we're going over the documents of the court order and the court writ warrant. So there, that's those who are on trial, their faces, except the sheriffs, of course. But they were there to administer the writ warrant and the trespass notice, and also the arrest notice. But it was pointless if we couldn't get the key or get an answer from them. And that was the answer. No, it's not going to happen. That's all I know of James Simon Brent Roundtree, because James Pierce Brown wasn't there. So there, those are the criminals going past. There are all the seals. There's my real estate ticket to know what I'm doing. But I haven't got my brokerage one there, or bank brokering. But anyway, the bank knows that. And there's the big pound note, the big one, to go right across the whole lot of all the corporations and trusts. Constitution, you need just the license for New Zealand and Britain, the one-page Constitution. And there's the authentication of the documents. You type choice they suddenly disappear. All these people that I've been dealing with and having their name in there in the court all disappear Even my lawyer, Troy, he knew all of this back to front. And Elif, Graham Elif, shut his mouth and say nothing. There's the birth certificate there. There's no birth certificates around with that age. There's the title there. With the Referee for Manukau just going past, 20 years on there, right there, Manukau. See, Referee for Manukau, he sold the land to Clendon and the British Crown in 1862. That's the native land court right there. So how come his name is not on the title? That's Cook Street there, the old title, and there's James Pierce Brown there, and Simon Brand Roundtree. Those are the defendants tonight, and they're clever lawyers and barristers, not anywhere to be seen. They won't come in front of this court because it's too graphic. They're not used to being in front of a camera and own up to God's law. God is corporation name for the creator. So God won't come in front of God's LORE law and say the truth because they won't do it. So that's why Greg's seal is there, because I put it in there so it makes it impressive for the court and the police to see that it means something of an authority. So there, Andy, that's basically me. I'm going to bow out now and leave it to Gregory to respond, and then the council will say something now or afterwards. Blair, you first want to say something now or after Greg speaks? Or Philip, any of you? So if you don't say anything, I'll let Gregory say his piece and then you can respond afterwards. Okay, we'll go along with that. Gregory, it's up to you.
Thank you, John. Thank you, Andy. And thank you, executives. And especially thank you to the gallery turning up tonight. We had a bit of a plan and perhaps a bit of goodwill reached out to what we call the respondents. In this case of the court, it's the Moai versus Mr. Roundtree and Mr. Brown in the case of Cook Street and Shortland Street. So we put out a goodwill gesture post delivering the analog copy on the 3rd of the 3rd, 23 to the officers on Shortland Street. Yes, thank you. Oh, cool, it turned out okay. So this is what we call a paper. It's just a preliminary paper to talk about the process moving forward and just trying to create some sort of standards moving forward in this court. So I'm absolutely honoured on behalf of the Awaroa Bank in Helensville and the beg your pardon, court jurisdiction to stand here as a moderator. It may be a little bit confusing for some because I'm sort of in, my feet are in different camps within this project. If we can just start off here, it says the Moai Crown Court, Moai King William IV, Trust UK Moai Power Bank, Westminster, England, Moai Royal Pacific Bank, New Zealand versus Roundtree and Brown. Set down for an international Zoom court hearing on this date, 13th of March, has an order number that comes down from the executive known as 001. The abbreviation NMKBC is just to save paper and ink in the writing, so it refers to the Native Magistrates King's Bench Court, to be known as the respondent, the applicant, beg your pardon. A warrant to seize was issued for these premises here, as evidence in the big file that John has just produced tonight for everyone to go through at your leisure. Please go to the website that he posts regularly for further information regarding all the cases, but in particular this one. So a warrant to seize 77 Cook Street property, Auckland, Lot 1 property. It's a set of officers. It has a dispatch number and a reference there, all quite obvious. Shortland Street 67, again a lot number, identifier number N20-726, and 69 Shortland Street, which is a set of car parks, a lot their identifier N20-762. Warrant was served on the March 2023 to 67 Shortland Street, property in Auckland. Contracted as the bailiff / sheriff was Admiral Greg Cook, WO or warrant officer. That's the WO's officer's badge there that I carried from prior service. Company contracted was Home Guard Global New Zealand, being global, the anticipation that there will be other countries joining in under this identity under their own right, but using it as a guideline for themselves. There was an execution of a writ warrant or warrants on behalf of the Moai Court, Moai King William IV Trust UK, Moai Powerhouse Bank Westminster, England, Moai War Pacific, New Zealand. To be known as the applicant, the respondents are to be known as Mr. James Pierce Brown and Mr. Simon Brent Roundtree, and these proceedings will be known as the respondents. Just for transparency, there was also a criminal charge given over to them on the delivery of the uplift of the keys. But just for these hearings, I'm not going to hear them as defendants, just to keep a bit of a gap between the two authorities of jurisdiction, criminal and civil. For this status, the respondents in these proceedings will not be heard at this time. It is the moderator's view that these proceedings be kept in the commercial or civil dispute so as to attempt and create an environment for the respondents to willfully enter the chambers being us here gathered tonight. Sorry, Andrew, I'll just read that. Chambers. The standards here moving forward are essential for the new, the inquisitive, and those that see this court but unsure how to participate in law, LORE, full direction. This is for the many that have found no justice in that which they had put so much faith in. In other words, the courtrooms as we would know it today. This court must hold itself to an even higher standard. It cannot be a vessel of hate or vengeance. It must serve all quarters of our nation. Thank you, Andy. Scroll up. The Native Magistrate King's Bench Court has come a long way. And for those who looked at this, I ask you to involve yourself in it willfully. Bring your skills, your faith for justice, and for the many that have come before us. We honour them here as your native title court. The executives of the Native Magistrate King's Bench Court stand proudly for you. They stood worthy of their people and their customs. They are here speaking to you, you born of any land, come claim your native title. The evidence is sound with much finer details that you, the observer, must fathom. Math I voice is your numbers and intent that the court that are the court. Power and numbers, the authority is you. Depositions, meaning where do we hold our authority? This court's jurisdiction and held in Westminster King's Bench Authority. The gallery. For the gallery. The gallery has been requested to attend for the duration of these proceedings before the Native Magistrates King's Bench Court. The gallery is an important component of justice of any civilized nation. We must engage in lawful dispute of any nature and witness the evidence set down. You set the precedents today. It is you, the Commons, the gallery of peers who hold the construct of lawfulness. Once again, whoever sits in this court moderation chair holds an imposing responsibility. They do not take this appointment lightly. This can never be the responsibility for those not willing to commit to knowledge and the pursuit of native justice, and only ever for lawful engagement with the founding document 1831, Polo Rāreka, Okiato, British Westminster Commons, King's Council, known as the Confederation of United Tribes. The gallery here are recognised as the Commonwealth. Now, I've just noticed I've got a couple of typos in there regarding the King's titles, but we'll edit that. Securities are held by St. Patrick, eight-pointed star, ×4, King Williams, the 3rd and 4th, King George 1st and 3rd, surrogate King John Wainoa, petition King King Ernest Augustus IV and Lord High Admiralty. This court cannot hear Queen's Bench law or any pending status of King in waiting of coronation Charles III, Rex, son of deceased monarch Queen Elizabeth II. This court looks to the international environment of good law that by all means serve the lawful pursuit of peace and justice. As a gallery here, as the gallery here, it is your responsibility to undertake prudent behavior and common standard. Do not let the mob rule. You keep the order of the court to prevent any tyranny in this, your monument. These will be our standards as the Confederation flag honors. The status of this hearing is civil. A proclamation of status. The respondents were, and this is where John has really sort of covered off in his prelude tonight. He has responded as far as what happened with the prior contract with the marshals. He's been open and upfront with that. So what, if you want to scroll up a bit, please, Andrew. So what we're asking in this passage here really is that we can agree that this did happen, that marshals were sent in, that an issue went down there where John was arrested. And as he is quite plainly put tonight, that he doesn't really know why he got arrested, but anyway, it proves another point that he was discharged without any conviction, really because they didn't want to bring his paperwork into the court via that way. One could assume, that's an assumption or presumption as far as the moderator goes. On the state to engage the police, so the police were engaged. So from the HGG report, on the 3rd of March 2023, the Home Guard did deliver an analogue document to Shortland Street. The address did encounter the respondent. We've got a video that we can put up maybe after this, Andrew, just for people to witness, or we can put it in as a link later on. I'm happy either way. On this day, the respondents engaged the Auckland Police, who had been given notice by the Native Magistrate Kings Bench Court not to intervene in these civil matters. However, the respondents within their right did engage New Zealand Police for assistance in this matter. Now the question of jurisdiction is in effect. Despite the Native Magistrate Kings Bench Court having several attempts over several years, and did attempt to engage dialogue with the respondents, it would appear to no avail, therefore the activation of this order. There is evidence to both sides, respondent and applicant, over 7 years. John's just explained that in his prelude tonight, that yes, whatever did go down there, this action did happen. And I'll just move into a comment he made in his prelude, that it really begs to the question that there is incompetence from the police of New Zealand's angle to know their lawful status and where John was coming from as a lawful native applicant to uplift either key or property or title or otherwise. So it appears that they've been obstructive in their intent. So I've got John to respond. He's already done that. So if the court pleases through the gallery here, we could generally agree that this historical event did happen in the way that John Wanoa has presented in his prelude. So we can scroll up, thinking, Andrew. Yeah, we'll scroll past that. We've already sort of covered that off. So the moderator must at all times and all conscience ensure the proceedings are balanced and objective, to hold court in such a way that it promotes common standards of behavior, never to let the proceedings degrade into a state of abandonment. I'm writing this with the open mind that the respondents did willfully turn up tonight and trying to make a space in which they could give a response into where they felt a potential safety procedure was in place. So never to let the proceedings degrade into abandonment, to the best of its ability, encourage the parties to hold a reverence to the jurisdiction of the King's Bench Court. and that goes for all of us. In the court, there is to be no bar. Both the applicant and respondent must appear in their own capacity or with approved counsel on their behalf. In the first instance, the respondents can appear by writing response to engage the courts this way to inform of the intent and scheduling of court. What I will lead into, I guess there's a bit of disclosure in that part there. You can sort of read through the rest of that in your own leisure. I make a plea to you as the court and as to the Commons that I am here to do the best I can, and I will, and anyone that sits in this position, this is title open for others to pick up at some point too, that we must support that person in some of these tough decisions and be willing to work through that. But what I'd like to just make mention that there is evidence that has come to hand at a private executive meeting this week, that it was brought to our attention that the applicants in this case did activate people to go to John's personal address and to basically make threats to John to stay away from the premises and the property of the respondents here tonight, which begs us a bit of concern about the safety, not just for John, but the executive as a whole. It could be concluded that the respondents in this case are pretty well connected in the community in many levels. So that gives this court grave concern for John and the executive as a whole, that the respondents in this case would go to those levels. They did not identify themselves. They did not give him any reason to be there, apart from obviously going through John's documents, and John has been in full disclosure of his address, maybe to the detriment of the document, maybe something that could be redacted just for safety reasons. Executives of anyone's personal details within any of those documents, as a suggestion, maybe to be redacted for personal safety. So that shows also another intent of evidence to the court as a moderator, that they were, to my understanding, that they were given a willful email and that one of the respondents did receive that to turn up, all with evidence or a paper response for tonight, and they chose an alternative route by sending people to John's address and making idle threats. One could say, one hopes they're only idle threats, but as a safety procedure, it just could be something the executive may want to ponder as far as personal detail within John's documents for future reference, and anyone else for that matter. So that's pretty much all I can do as a moderator tonight. There is a few rules at the back there. They're open suggestions. It was really just to try and set a precedence of standards moving forward. So what John has really said tonight for the gallery is that he has had, after the event of the two people turning up to John's premises uninvited, in the middle of the night, in the dark, all those sorts of scenarios, that a willful participant in the law Eddie, I'll call him Eddie, just to keep his surname off record just for tonight, but it's confirmed that this gentleman is prepared to finance John into the High Court, taking his paperwork into the High Court. So that's what John was really explaining tonight, that as much as we are trying to be lawful in our attempts here in the Native Magistrate King's Bench Court and go about our business unencumbered or without delay or prejudice, it would appear that every time that we go for this activation, the police system of New Zealand is willfully getting in the way of civil business. So therefore, this gentleman, Ed, is prepared to take John as the claimant on behalf of us as the beneficiary, or use, I should say, I need to stay neutral in that, is used in the beneficiary of this idea to get it into that system. And for myself, trying to be bipartisan. I believe the evidence as far as John and the history of what John has just proposed tonight is very sound. But what it definitely needs is the gallery of our peers, the people that are here and your friends and family that you wish to take this as a testimony to support John in this journey, the executive in this journey, and especially Ed is going to formulate it into the High Court and make it a polite gesture to the rest of our community to engage this story. It's very important. It's very important, not just for the now, but for the long years of many that have come before this court to get us to this point. So we are very grateful, I'm sure, to Ed that realizes now that John has a lot of moral support, if not physical support. There's a lot of work that has gone into it, and that we are building up our numbers slowly through our networks to get them behind this narrative. It's an inclusive narrative. It's a narrative that reaches not only around our personal hapu, but it reaches around the global hapu that wish to maintain their native status. So I take my hat off to all in the executive, those that have come before and those that are to come, that we take a very dim view against the respondents' reaction this week as far as how they went about putting a warning on John instead of doing an official trespass notice through the police or something of that nature where we could table the evidence. It will appear this would be for the best sake of the native bench court here and for John and the executive's safety that we go down the route, support this narrative and go down that route suggested by Edward into the High Court. This is going to cost a lot of money and it's going to cost a lot of time. So it's incumbent on you, the gallery, to fathom the depth of the information that the Native Magistrate, King's Bench Court, the Moai, Powerhouse, and the rest of those titles have put together. They are the way that John and his team have put it together, and that's the way they are, and they're sound in those ways. So tampering of those documents would be also frowned upon dimly. So I ask you as the moderator, even if you're a person here that wishes to rebut this scenario, that you do it in a respectful way and communicate through the communication sources like emails for proper and appropriate responses. So that's really all I've got to do tonight. I was hoping that we would have had some show of courage from the respondents, but because of the evidence shown this week from their behaviour, it would be remiss of me to think they're anything more than what has been described as pirates and tyrannous behaviour. So with that, as the moderator, I'd just like to thank all the gallery that have tuned in tonight. It is incumbent that you stay tuned to this particular case as it comes to hand, but support, if nothing else, morally with John and the executive moving forward. So I really do appreciate it. And that's all I think I have to bring tonight, Andrew. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg. Just ask you to unmute again, John, if you want to add anything to that. Do you want me to show the rest of the document? I'll just flick through the document. You'll have to unmute yourself, John, by the way.
Yep, okay. Oh, sorry, I've gone on now. I didn't see the remote. Yep, so this is Ernest Augustus. This is our authority, a legitimate authority to keep our bloodline going to the Dutch King William III and his all his acts of making the Municipal Corporations Act possible, and to make his Constitution of Britain possible with our 1835 Constitution, the two licenses that gives us the authority to do what we do comfortably without being shot to bits by anybody. And so this goes right through the world. What we're doing here is putting this native title together, and I've been the creator of all of this right back through all the old kaumatuas that have gone now, and all of their different inputs from different tribes, the Te Arawa, Ngāpuhi, Tainui, and Ngāti Pro, and other tribes as well. I've been through them all to try to get a good cross-reference of different tribes that don't seem to be gelling together. And I only see this is the only way to bring them all together in something common as this. But it still means the authority, what Greg is saying, he's running the court, not me. So that's something that's bitten into me, that all he's saying is already written in the law already in 2008, the first owner, then the second owner in 2012, and then the third owner in 2015. It's been got a long line of people, all different people, right in front of me. I'm the one that's claiming on my own 2 feet against them, and I don't need anybody to help me to talk for myself and say what I'm saying straight out to their face. I want to see the whites in their eyes when I'm talking to them in the High Court. That's me, straight to them, and say, well, say something. Don't say nothing, because it's against you if you don't say anything. And that's in their court. I have to go into their court. I was going into the High Court in London because that was international. This is an international case. It's not here really. It's you have to go into London in that court, but that's the Rothschild's court. That you're still caught up in their court. They'll rule against it. So that's where I pulled out. I said, no, wrong court. I'll just start from here first and then go into Westminster and set up the court over there. That's why we went into Westminster, into the Supreme Court, because it was cold and wet. And we went and had somewhere warm to have some lunch and have our Supreme Court or our court hearing, magistrate court hearing in there, ready to go into Parliament. So Andy arranged someone in a MP in the Parliament for us to go and meet her, but we never got to see her because something got in the way of that. So we missed the opportunity to lay our case as coming from New Zealand with the flag, and our connection didn't hit it off then. So we just have to start from the beginning again and try and gather some interest in the people here behind this idea. It's nobody else's idea. It's come from Mohi Manukau's head. You see, so I'm there for him. I'm not there for anybody else but that man, because he put me up to it. He put me up to it. So I'll be loyal to him first because of what has been left out of the title, and his people were slaughtered. They were all slaughtered. And I've seen all of that. It's in my head. All of that is in my head. It's on videos that I've taken of all the unmarked graves all over the place, up north, in the Kaipara, down Wanganui, all through. I've been there and had a look where they are. He just said, stop, we're going to have a look here. See? So all of that is still in me. I want to let it go. And so we can I can have my life back with my family. And so that's what I'm saying to Greg. It sounds like you're taking over from me and just repeating what I'm saying and making a new group up there in Ngāpuhi. It's not going to happen because it has no authority to Britain. You've gone and severed your sovereignty to Britain. So it's very difficult for you up there to try and connect to Britain when you're cut off. It has to go where the British set it up. See, so that they got nothing to do with up there. So that's why I'm saying I'm staying where the British were operating here in the Waikato and up in Hillsville. So there, that's just to put the record straight. Do not tramp on my contract because I am the one that's claiming and nobody else. So I'll talk for myself because I'm used to talking real estate in front of everybody, making my own contracts. You see, so I've written the whole thing up to bring them into contract with me. It's me, the contract, nobody else. Nobody else is in this contract, just me and those landowners, and anybody else is a third party. If you interfere with this contract, you're in trouble. You will get a pound note on your head if anybody gets in the road between here and Britain. If that's just to be plain, be careful when you're operating in a native court for the first time. This is the first one in the world. So if you jump ahead of me and go off on your own sailing with my information, it's going to go into a block wall with your surname. When you go to Britain, they'll say, where is your native title? Who are you? Where do you come from? And they'll just go take you right back to the beginning and say, sorry, it's not about Maoris. It's not about anybody but a native. You see, that's why I get my name right first, where I come from, who the Queen pinched herself, our memorials, to make money out of. See, so you have to have memorials with your name right on the land, not the one that came here to take it off us, the one that got taken off. See, so they took the land off me and took it off Manukau. Those two are original surnames that have a lot to do with this native court. You have to get the right sequence of events with a timeline all the way back to somebody's authority. Where did you get your authority from? If you say from Helensville, what business do you have in Helensville? You have to go and talk to the Manukau because that's their piece of turf, you see, and they're the ones that got killed. That's what I'm there for. I'm there to make up for the debt of all those Manukau's. There's a big debt, and I can name everybody that had something to do with it. So there, just to be blunt, I'm blunt when it comes to law, because the law, you're either in the law or not in it. If you go into a court, in the real court, they'll ask you questions. You have to have the answers every time. You have to have the answers, because if you don't have Freemason story, out, you're out, you're gone. You've got to have that. There's no Freemasons up north. It's all in Helensville. That's it. That's how they run the corporations. That's where the corporations begin. They begin from the whole world over there for all the countries that follow the native title and the native court. So there, you have to make sure what you talk about and put the right story. Don't negotiate my contract. Don't touch my contract, because that's my business and nobody's supposed to know about it, because it's a secret that nobody's supposed to know. If I didn't tell anybody, those thugs would get away with it. They're not going to get away from Moai. They're not going to get away from Moai, from Manukau. See, and the Wānoa and the Rogan that stitched it all up. Those three families stitched it all up. Nobody else. That's it. That's what I'm saying. But it's just documents. It's not the land. You got the land, that's yours, but it's the lease on the land that I'm there for. Not the land. You can do what you like on the land, but they've got a hold on it. They've got a hold. Even if the Crown says, well, you have to buy the lease back, you have to deal with the Crown in Wellington, not the Crown in Britain. When you get to the Crown in Britain, they'll ask you questions. Who are you? Where do you come from? The one doing the talking. See, they'll pull you up. The one doing the talking, they'll pull you up and say, who are you? How did you get there? Who got you there? And where's your title? And what about all the other people that you haven't taken into account? Everybody, you just only for yourself. What about all the rest of the people in the country? The Indians, the Chinese, the every other, they're all in this. They're all in a king's title. They're all the same, not just a tribe gonna rule all over the world, but one tribe. I'm not like that. I'm not going to go and rule the whole country and the world. I put the experts in. We got the money to pay experts to go and do this job, do that job, and do that job. See, they're trained to do just that. A musician goes and plays music, but when it comes to business like that, I'll be watching everybody, because that's all I'm going to do. Watch who is working and who's not, because that's what Blair's there for. He's a official assignee for the court. he keeps an eye on everybody that's coming into the court. You see, so we've got a record to keep and to make sure who is talking in front of everybody, so that they can believe him and know that he stacks up. You see, they'll look at me and say, "Oh, that will have been around for a long time, so it's just the same old story." You see, so but they know it's there, it's stuck, it's been there for a long few years, but it's got its story. So everybody's got their own stories, but you have to put it in the right court. See, all the stories here are in the courts under New Zealand government. Not this. This is the first time. So coming from that side to this side, you have to be a model for every other country. Don't tell another country and their government what to do. Don't go and put your people in there and tell them how high to jump. See, you have to use them and pay them. That's what I set up, to pay the military, the police, all the people over there. The same here. You just pay people to do a job if you've got the money. And we've got it all if we've got the instruments right. You've got to get the instruments right for the bank to accept it, and the currency, and the business plan, and everything to go with it all together. So they say, "Where's the money going, John?" "Oh, it's going to zero accounting." So that's a world business organization of chartered accountants. So it follows the system. No skullduggery, tax dodging. You just go and do what the country's government says. You don't make your own up. You just have to follow their rule until you've got your own rule and control. We're going after the control, gradual steps, but I'm not going to wait around for weeks and weeks for the lawyer. I'm not going to waste time. I don't want to wait another month for this lawyer. It's either in or out. That's it. That's why I'm giving the whole lot over. There's a lot of information in those books, and 20 books. Everything right down to a T is in there. Even the Utatonga is there. I didn't realize I had all their titles in that book, but not the one with the one house. All the rest of, that's why I went to the East Coast with Gregory to go and get the title with the one house on the whole of the Bay of Islands. It's not in that book because I left it out and put everything else in there. So I can always get it. I can always get that one house title in the Maori Land Court. I've been in and out of there for years. I know how to get it, and they'll give it to me if it's for a good reason, because I have an interest in it. See, I've got the titles to take all that land up there because the wrong owners are on it. I know who's who and who whakapapas into who on the land. And my daughter Tracy knows it back to front because she was with Kingi, and they booted her off there. But she knows a lot of the law as a district court registrar in Manukau District Court for years, until she saw all the skullduggery going on. She pulled out, and so she's there for the court once the court gets going. And so she'll be an asset, but I don't want to let her in yet until we get Cook Street, and then she can go for it and go and pull up all those the things that she said were stolen from her and Kingi, all this stuff. So that's just another case. You've got Marika. She's got her case. I just want to let her know about her kids, but she's got a court case coming up. I can't do much about it because we're still trying to get off the ground. If we got Cook Street, I'll go straight into her case. And so because I haven't got that, we can't use our flag power until we stick it in the ground with a big pole on it. And there, that gets the flag off anybody using it for the wrong reasons. See? So that's what you've got to get off the government. Once you take it off them, then you've got the use of it. So that's us. I just want
just before we go any further, John, just because I mean, obviously these people are muted, so I mean, just in case there is any the respondents, I mean, because I mean, I don't see the names. The names James Pierce Brown and Simon Brent Roundtree are not in any of the names on the labels, but whether they are here or whether there is anybody here that's meant to be here to represent for them, just put your hand up now, just so that we can confirm.
Okay.
I don't believe that anybody here is them, and that the respondents have failed to turn up. But just for the record, for the record, I'm just making sure that if anybody is here for the respondents, or if the respondents are here and I can't see your names on any of the things, please put your hand up, or just put a message in the comments so that we do know whether you have or have not turned up. So just on for the record. So that's all I want to say. If they do put their hands up, or if they put a message in, I shall allow them to speak.
Yeah.
Okay, back over to you.
Okay. So we don't appear to have anybody here to represent them. I didn't expect anybody but a lawyer to represent them. If any of them was a lawyer, then speak, because this is a real court of the first native court in the world under a king's flag jurisdiction, and so it appears there's nobody here for those landowners. They're not here, so we can make a ruling now. I'll make a ruling now as the court to rule them as guilty as charged, and the cases go against them as being true and correct, that we've got writ warrants against them, trespass notice against them, going back to 2015 as being criminal case, and also civil case. So I'm doing civil and criminal case in this court. Every case going on with everything that's happening on that native land. So every court matters in this court of jurisdiction, of common law, all the other laws, high court and district court, and all that those corporations are operating under. So tonight, because they're not here, they're absent here. We use the absentee law to rule on them in their absence against all the charges that we put up against them, and any costs against those two landowners with enough evidence to find them guilty as charged and lose all their business and properties that I've got listed on the writ warrant, to seize all of those properties. But that's in the court's control now until I have a meeting with my executive to see what we're going to do about the situation tonight. We've got a serious case on with the High Court. That's not something to be taken lightly. That's all on me, and the pressure is on me to go up in the court and testify on my own behalf. I can't let anybody speak for me. I speak for myself, and so me versus those two landowners first, and everybody else after that, not on the same day. But there are many people involved in fraud in that land title, and they are all in the court with their photos. Everybody's photo is involved, and there are many that's linked to the first owner, to the second owner, to the third owners. They're all in the same fraud, and so they've inherited a fraud, and so that's up to their land conveyancing lawyer. I'm petitioning, or I'm subpoenaing those lawyers into the court, and subpoenaing Natalie Fowler Brown, that arrested me illegally, and her into the High Court. There's a few people I'm going to subpoena into the court myself, because I'm the claimant creditor, and for these companies that are there, and nobody else. No one's going to speak for me. I will speak for myself. Thank you very much, but thanks for their help. And you can't do what I do. You can't know how much I know about every little puzzle in this big matrix. You must know everything before you can refute anything I'm saying. That's why they are silent and rather not say anything. It's just overwhelming, too much. And there's years gone into it. It's not just something you pluck out of nowhere and go and run for it. No, I just warn anybody, do not play with these documents without your own self in the whole mix. You can speak for you, but not for this court. And I'm in charge of this court at all times, not the sheriff. The sheriff is there on contract to this court, and my executive knows that. They know that that was a job. Like I can get any contractor to do the same job if I wanted to, if we got the money and did it. I know I'm going to end up with that land title, but not with sheriffs. It has to go through the official assignee, and he can do it with the letter from the court, from the High Court, and present it to the priest to get out of the road while we go in. So there, just me and the assignee from the court. I'll just tell you, it's Blair. He's the one that's in charge of that. He's an overseer, not exactly the position, but he's there as an overseer. We get expert bailiffs to do that just for the court in the same spot. We've got to have them there all the time in the area of where we are. We're setting up the native court in Hamilton for up the road in Maungatautari for that British title there and native court there. That's the authority that'll go above the Awaroa one. That one there, the King George one, the earlier first one. See, so there you've got that to worry about because that one is closer to King William III and King George III, the father of these Germans kings. So there, but they're still there nevertheless in a line of descent to us here in Ernest Augustus. That's why I put him there in the first place long ago. Ernest Augustus has always been there as the next successor in this long journey I've been on. So there, that's my story that anybody can repeat but can't own. No one can own what I'm saying because they can't stand up and be that part of the history. See, you can't have someone with a different name than a native surname, indigenous name, to speak for you. You've got to use a native surname in the British titles to speak for their own indigenous surname to the land that was there before anybody else. So the older the name like Utatonga is, they've got to speak for Utatonga, not anybody else. They've got to speak. The Utatonga is too frightened to get up and talk because I've been wanting them to come on and in the beginning where I was looking for a chief, but they're all colonized. They're all under the government and listening to the government. So they're gone. Their heads are gone. They can't be themselves because they've forgotten about themselves and gone with the enemy. See, so there, that's the sorry state of affairs of broken native title that's been legislated out. The native title has been legislated out and the Maori title put in. So then now you've got the problem of the Maori in the way. See? So there, that's something in response to Gregory. Please do not tramp on my toes and my legal documents and use them for your own reasons. That's been nice because you can't do that in a British court. You can't speak for me in a British court, and especially the native court, because they know, they can tell who's who, where you come from and how you got there and where you live, because it's just like that. That's the way it is in those titles. In any native country, you'll always find the right people that were screwed, like me and Mo'i Manukau, screwed. Our families were married into, then screwed, and then taken our titles and stick their trustees in and took the land for themselves as the legal owner, and I got nothing. Just say, give me your plans, give me all your plans, and you can come with us. I say, you go to hell. I got my own plans and I'll do what I like, not you tell me. You're not from here, you're from somewhere else. How the hell did you get on my land? How did you put your name on my land in shares? Who gave it to you? Well, you married into my family and go and say you're the boss and I'm not the boss. So there, that's all over the place. All over the world, it's like that. It's the same corporations on the Queen's side that screwed all the real natives off the land. And they just picked some few Maoris and went with their story and not our story. See, they're missing the real story. And when this goes in the High Court, it's just going to bust everybody up. It's going to bust them, bust one corporation after another. And you'll see who's crooked, who's crook. You see, you can see the Maori names are being bodged to make it look and sound like a Maori, but it's not real. It's not real. See, Paraone is brown. That's not real. It's not real. It's a white man. It's not an indigenous surname. So they got away with it. They got away with it, but they're not going to get away with it now. See, when they're in this court, no one gets away with it. You can't cross names up in this court. You can't go and say, oh, I'm whakapapa here and whakapapa. Doesn't work in this court. Don't try it because you'll get in trouble. I'm just warning people, stick to your name and nobody else's. And that's how it works. And that's how you straighten out a native title. You go back to the native on the land first, then the second one, not the tail before the head before the tail. See, that's why the whakapapas are all over the place. They can't prove this and this and that until they come into this court and prove who the hell did you get your authority from? Who's your king? Who's your queen? And how long are you going to stay on the land for? Or whatever like that. You can ask a lot of questions. And where are you going to get your money from? And who's going to pay the mortgage that you've got on that side? So those are just valid points that I want to make it quite clear in this court. Don't run this court in another place. Gregory, I'm just saying that out aloud so that nobody else in the world will grab what I put on the line free for everybody to read and learn how to do it. But don't do it in my time. Don't do it in our time, our little group that's bothered to stick with me all the way and not veer off the plan. The original plan I had to pick somebody up like Andy that understands what the flag is for and who's flying it for what reason and what did the king give it for, who the king gave it to, and who the bloody hell's mucking around with it and made a different name for it. See, that's all those things you have to answer. Why are you flying that flag? Who for? Is it for you, or is it for the whole people of the world, or is it just for Ngāpuhi, or just for Tainui, or whatever is you've got a plan in your head for you? I don't have that flag for me because it's not my flag, but I know how to use it. I know how to use it properly. What the king wants to use it for the first time in 183 years, we're starting to use it. And when its power gets back, it will do what the king said in the first place, 183 years ago. These people here switched the whole thing around and made it something else. So there, I just want to see what the response of the executive is. If they agree with me, what I'm saying, and so we can make a rule tonight, apart from the guilty pleas of those respondents, that this court found them guilty under me as the claimant and my documents, nobody else's documents, but my own, and seals and king and surrogate king, as I am a surrogate king to make all the rules of that flag. Nobody else can do that. I'd like to see somebody else try that and see if they can make it work. So there, just pointing it out, and I just want to see if the executive, just a few of them, agree with what I'm saying, and then we can open the floor up for anybody to speak and say something in this court. And while it's still a court, for the moment, leave it open to get an answer, but not go off the track in something else because we'll cut it off. I don't want the discussion to go off the track, Andy. We might have to end the court hearing after the executive has made a response to Gregory and myself. they have to decide which way we're going to go. Gregory, in charge of the court hearing, and Gregory, the moderator, and the boss of the court and all the native court, instead of me, or they want to stay with me, with the court, because this court, I started it off, nobody else. So that's being rigid and being straight to the point, because we don't want any confusion about whose idea it is in the first place and whose tupuna put it all together. See, the ancestors that put it all together, whose ancestors put it together for whom and where, which piece of land did it. So those are the things. Don't come and talk on somebody else's piece of land, especially Reg Monaco. He's watching this but won't come on because he doesn't have to speak. He knows what I'm saying, and so does Philip Te Awhitu and Philip Newton and Blair Ingram and Hornet Mason. They know what I'm saying. And so I'll just open it up to them to respond on what they decide on what I'm saying. Blair, you first?
Taylor?
Yeah, yep. Hi, everybody. Yes, John, you're absolutely correct. And the court should be led by you, as you have the history and the knowledge. I think Gregory's point was to sort of put rules in perspective for the court, which may be a good idea one day, but just not yet. There has to be only one moderator, if you like, and that has to be John, because he's got the history and the knowledge. And it just has to continue this way. And with our great friend Andy over there in Greece, holding the courts for us. What a gem we have there. And it's all going all well now until we get into this Supreme Court and the High Court, I mean, with the support of our supporter. And I think we should head in that direction. We've done what we can with the sheriffs, who did a fantastic job last week. But that part of it will end for now until we get into the High Court. And all our courts must run in the same direction as it has been running for the last 30 odd courts, with John at the helm. Thank you.
Hornet?
Yep. Kia ora, can you hear me?
Yep.
Oh, yeah. No, yep, no, it's got to keep going how it is. There's only the one way. And then everything will be, well, yeah, everything will fall into place as it goes. So, no. Carry on as it is. Can't wait.
Okay. Kate? Is it Kate?
Katie, I've just asked her to unmute. She's here.
Yes, I'm here. I believe, John, that we should keep going with you.
Okay.
Keep going your way. I'm pretty sure that sooner or later we can bring in maybe the sheriffs later on.
Okay.
Yeah, but no, I believe that you should be the overall one in charge of this court.
Okay.
Yeah.
Philip, if you want to,
Philip Te Awhitu?
have to unmute yourself, Philip, if you want to speak.
Is Philip
Yeah,
there?
it's just sitting on there. There you go. Okay, Phil.
Yeah, just listen to everybody's comment. I'll leave it in John's jurisdiction to go forward into the High Court. We can't say anything because he's done all the right for got all the right material and all the evidence for his case. That's all I can say. You're up.
Go on. Go on, Phil.
Philip, the other Philip, Newton. Newton.
All good, John. Same with Greg, done a wonderful job. But I think we need to stay with John and see it through with this case, and hopefully all goes well. I think it will, being together. Thank you, guys.
Okay, thanks, Philip. So now I make a ruling as a prosecutor and a judge of this native court to accept what these council of the executive council are saying from the Awaroa Native Magistrate Court as being my decision to hold off on the sheriffs for now until I sort out the problem with police in the High Court. That's another matter. That's not anybody's business but my own, and the funder to pay for everything. It's going to cost a lot to do this case, and it involves a lot of people that are criminal, as well as in the civil side is only mild. So nobody has the experience to carry on a court hearing with all this going on in Cook Street to try and speak for it and speak for me. So there, I'm satisfied with my crew who's with me all the time, every day. If I want to talk to them, the phone is there to answer, and I get the answer straight away, which gives me confidence to keep going on our original path with Moi Manukau and the Awaroa Native Court, to follow that path and to keep on track with our funder, and for myself to prepare the court case. And I've picked up the books tomorrow, 20 of them. So those are going to be handed over, but we have borrowed them, the lawyer borrowed them, because I'll keep them in our office for future use, and I have a spare one to go with it. And so with those, he's got the stick with all the documents on it, the same ones I've sent to the lawyers and everybody else, but they've got only snippets of the documents, not the whole story in the books. So the books have got all the signatures of Moi Manukau and all the chiefs to make sure I was the president of the Confederation of Chiefs in Helensville, and also the blessings from the chiefs in Waitangi and also Auckland to give me the position as surrogate King William IV and King William III and King George IV. So there, I can say I'm that person to speak in this native court above anybody else who doesn't have a king's link to Britain. So there, it just links us straight there, not through this government in Wellington. It's up to us to prove this government here is inferior and is just a sub-lease vice admiral above below the admiral of what we're doing with the documents. The admiral is just the documents. It's not anything physical. It's just the bloodline of the Protestant coming through the German line into Westminster, that we'll have to string it all together to make us the living part of that puzzle and on the land that can speak for the land over here in Hamilton and speak for the land in Kaipara. So we've got Reg Manukau there to speak for that land over there, and we've got you, both Phillips and Blair, Ingram, and Hone Mason to speak for this land here in Waikato, and know everything. And there's no whakapapa in corporations and commercial contracts. It's just business, nothing else. And the land, you can sort the land out and all of that, but leave the rest of the real estate and the mortgage broking and the leases to me. That's my experience to do that, which no one else can do, the Freemasons' job. So there we are. Thank you, fellas, for making your decision tonight. So, Gregory, we're going to hold off the sheriffs and any more input to make yourself go worldwide at this stage, because we're getting the court right first, not the other way around, with the sheriffs don't have authority over the court, the judge and the prosecutor, and in this case, the British connection to Indigenous people that I'm picking to know that it fits the title. Your name fits the title of a native court. Otherwise, they won't believe you in Britain or even here. They'll see you and find out how you fit a native court. So there, that's just me saying it out loud as a real estate agent of how it works on transfers of land. I want to transfer the land through the High Court. So that's another thing. I don't have to go to Lynn's. I just get the court to do it and pay whatever it costs to transfer that land. Once we get Cook Street, I can do the whole country. I'll do the whole country the same way without going to the High Court. That's just to set that off. Nobody knows how to do that. Nobody knows what I know, because it's a tight secret that no one's supposed to know private contracts and how the government works behind your back in private contracts for themselves. So there, the only way to beat the corporate system is to be a corporate yourself and mirror them this way as you yourself doing it. And our team, it's good you've got confidence in me, it gives me confidence in you, right beside me all the way through at the end of the phone, and not tell me how to do my job. Please don't tell me how to do my job. I know what I do. So there, that's that. You fellas know how to do the land and the hapu and the whakapapa and all that. That's you. That's not me. I got my whakapapa all sorted out. And so we don't have to talk about that. and so that's about all I want to say, Andy. Our decision is to stay as we are in this court hearing and keep going on our pathway with the first owners, the second owners, and the third owners of Cook Street. You can't string that together because you haven't thought about those owners who are linked in some way or another to the fraud. They've got their own fraud. Each one has got their own fraud. But I warned them, don't get in my road to those owners. Don't sell the property anymore because we're going to take it off you. So there, that's telling them straight out. Don't do anything on it. That's why it's not getting built, because I told them, don't you do anything there because we're going to take it off you. So anybody is going to be the same. Anybody is going to be the same. Same as the kids, the children, we're going to do the same thing and take them off the Crown and Wellington, whip them all off them and give them back to where they're supposed to be with their whānau. So that's how it works. When we get one thing going, it'll get the next thing going. So it's really a quick lesson for everybody coming into a native court. This is how you do it. You don't do it through your own head when you haven't got all the bits and pieces to go with it. You can't start halfway up or near the top. You have to start from the bottom. That takes years. All those years, 38 years I've been at it, took to get this far. And it's not going to matter another week later to finish it off tidily without anybody's help. See, I've got the man I wanted to help me. He's got the money. That's all that was missing. Just that. The money was missing. The rest is easy. I can go and do anything with that and win any case if I've got all the instruments right. So far, so good. It's been a wonderful journey. and to get this far and to come up with you fellows to support me. Even Gregory and his team of Home Guard sheriffs, they're very good, but it's not the right time to do it now that we're fighting up against the police, who are the only ones in the road. It's the police. I haven't got the money to pay them to shut their mouth and say nothing. You see, so that's what's missing. We don't pay their wages. See, so there they get the upper hand, but the court will sort the problems out, and I'm hoping that Eddie is going to be very smart and have a good team there to get this done, and I'll be preparing myself tomorrow with him again. Well, today we had some meeting here and in his house, and so so it's looking good. That's all I can report to you. That it's looking good. It's a done deal. It's a done deal. But don't tell anybody his name because he didn't want anybody to know. But I tell the world what's going on. One day they'll find out who it was that helped me. See, and you fellas helped me, Philip. You fellas helped me. That's very good because that's all that's missing. The help. I wish I had the help from all the tribes when I went to England, and nobody, because they just didn't believe me on the Malay, that I was going there to get our country back. So now, Andy, I think we've said our piece, and one day we can join up back with the sheriffs. But everybody that comes into the court to do any job will be under contract the same way. The experts, all the computer experts, the managers, we're not going to manage the company. The experts are going to do it because we'll have money to pay the best people to run the business, to run the chairs, to run everything. I'm not going to do anything but just watch. And Blair's not going to do anything but just watch. And Philip and them are going to do nothing else but just watch things go together. And other younger ones and other people can do the work. If we get this one right, we got to get this one right. We got to do it right. Don't let anybody do it because it'll make a mistake. I don't like a mistake like what Maastricht did with Cook Street. They made a mistake. That's why we didn't get it. They made a mistake to wrench those people up by the neck. And that was a big mistake because it just made a complaint. And that's what got me locked up for nothing. See, I don't want any mistakes in this court. No one's going to run this court but me. That's it, because I don't want any human mistakes in where we've got so far. It's been good, Andy. It's been good right up to now. And that's our enemy is the government and the WEF. That's a big one. No one's thinking of that. How do you tackle corporations that big? This is the way to do it. You don't think of the idea. It's years to think about that. How are you going to tackle the big corporates with what? With what? A taiaha or a club in your hand or someone speaking and got a little bit of it, but not all of it, and think you're going to get over the top of these World Economic Forum that's trying to steal this land. Nothing anybody can do about it. They can't do anything about it without a native title. That's it. Take the native title under their feet and they're gone. That's it. We just need to get the police out of the way and we got the land. We got the whole country. Poof. We got the title to the whole country. Poof. Gone. That. Then go and do the next country and the next one and the next one. Same way. Same way. We just make the pound note do all the work, make the flag do the work. And that's it. That's how you do it. The flag does the work. So thank you, Andy. That's it. We can end the hearing, have the last say, and then we'll end the court here and open it up for discussion. Those people are not here. They've had enough time to come and defend themselves so we can rule against them and absent here.
Yeah. Well, just to the end, I'd like just to confirm for and on the record that the defendants failed to turn up. There's no messages, and they've not sent any messages. So, like I say, they failed to attend. So I'll end the hearing now. Then the time now is 11:23 over here, so that will be 10:23 New Zealand PM time. and it's Monday, the 13th of March, 2022. So I'll just end the recording.